The first acorn of autumn has caught the attention of this tiny creature. The moment it will face the harshest survival challenge of its life. This is a chipmunk just 2 months old. Within this short autumn, it must gather at least 100 acorns before it can survive the long winter ahead. The cheek pouches on both sides of the chipmunk's mouth are like pouches that can expand at will, stretching up to 3 times the volume of its head. This creates a storage space like a mobile granary. When its pouches are full, it will hurry back to its underground burrow, focusing on storing these acorns. With such a tiny body, it is difficult to store enough body fat like a bear. Therefore, it needs to stockpile food. For the little chipmunk storing food for winter for the very first time, it has done a great job, but it didn't expect that. Every single move it made was being watched by an older chipmunk. As soon as the little chipmunk left, this sly thief could not wait to slip into its burrow. The older chipmunk is good at opportunism and tricks. As long as there is a chance to get something without working for it, it will never make itself work hard. But for the young chipmunk, losing its stored food will be a total disaster. The little chipmunk is still diligently preparing for winter, unaware that its food storage at home is being raided by a thief. Because there is so much food stockpiled, this thief needs to constantly make multiple round trips to transport all the acorns back to its own burrow. Before long, the little chipmunk's stored food has run dry. At the same time, the little chipmunk also runs into new trouble. This half-ton moose has targeted the exact same acorn as it did. Despite the massive disparity in size, it still won't give up the food already in its mouth, biting down even harder. In the end, thanks to its agility, it manages to avoid being trampled by the moose and walks away calmly. Out here, there are huge monsters competing for food with it. Perhaps it can only head back to the burrow first. When the little chipmunk returns to its burrow and sees the scene before its eyes, it is stunned. The acorns it worked so hard to store are barely left. Just as it is trying to investigate inside the burrow for clues, that greedy thief comes back again. At this moment, the tension inside the burrow reaches a climax. Unexpectedly, the one kicked outside is the actual owner of the burrow, the little chipmunk. The older chipmunk is stronger and has rich combat experience. The novice, little chipmunk, has no power to resist at all and can only flee in panic at the end. Having lost its acorns, how will it get through the upcoming winter? Falling leaves flutter down, signaling that winter is approaching. If the forest begins to freeze, a young chipmunk with no stored food will find it hard to survive even a week. With the days growing shorter, it desperately needs to store acorns, so it recklessly breaks into a completely unfamiliar place at night. The night forest is full of dangers, but the temptation of acorns makes it brave anything. Food here is more abundant, but the skeleton of its own kind appearing ahead also warns that a terrifying threat lurks here. The owl is a top predator deep in the forest, and also one of the greatest enemies of chipmunks. Yet the allure of the acorns makes the little chipmunk completely forget all danger. The noise it makes while stuffing acorns into its mouth also successfully catches the owl's attention. Immersed in the world of acorns, the little chipmunk is totally unaware of the lurking danger. Right at that final moment of life and death, it manages to escape back to its burrow just in time. Though it narrowly escaped death by a whisker, the issue of winter food reserves remains unsolved. When winter arrives, the bitter cold is a massive threat to these tiny creatures. The little chipmunk also realizes that it cannot just sit around and wait for death. If it wants to survive this winter that were stolen, its only chance is to find the acorns. After some searching, it quickly finds the thief's lair. But things don't go as planned. Just as it joyfully prepares to enter the burrow, it runs straight into the old thief face to face. Facing this formidable opponent once again, will it choose to fight bravely or continue to back down in cowardice? This time, it doesn't choose to run away. Instead, with a determination that burns all bridges, it fights the thief to the bitter end. Before the fierce attack of the little chipmunk, the tables of offense and defense have turned. In the end, the little chipmunk wins and immediately starts transporting the acorns that originally belonged to it, while that old thief can only lick its wounds in silence, bearing the consequences. Soon, thanks to its efforts, the granary is fully stocked once again. Shortly after, the forest begins to freeze. The little chipmunk managed to complete this survival challenge just in the nick of time. While larger animals are struggling to cope with the bitter cold, this little chipmunk can hide away deep underground, living in its burrow for a whole 6 months, enjoying a vacation. It has enough food throughout the freezing winter.